Imagine this. You're scrolling through X and an ad pops up, a glowing jungle retreat promising to unlock your soul with ayahuasca. The video shows people crying tears of joy, fractals swirling, and a shaman chanting under a starry sky. It's mesmerizing, right? You're hit with this jolt of amazement, like you've stumbled on the secret to life itself. Your heart races, you're ready to book a flight. But then a nagging feeling creeps in, a flicker of unease, maybe even disgust. Why does this feel like a sales pitch for enlightenment? Why does it look like spirituality has been shrink-wrapped into a $3,000 weekend package? Welcome to the psychedelic renaissance, where sacred tools are being sold like concert tickets, and the truth is far less glamorous than the hype. Buckle up, because we're about to peel back the curtain on a cultural phenomenon that's got everyone buzzing, and maybe a little misled. Let's be real. The idea that a single dose of mushrooms or a cup of ayahuasca can catapult you into spiritual nirvana is jaw-dropping. It's shocking to think a plant could rewrite your reality, align your chakras, or make you one with the universe. That promise is what hooks millions, myself included, once upon a time. I remember watching a documentary about DMT, my eyes wide as people described meeting cosmic beings and unraveling life's mysteries in 15 minutes. It felt like discovering a cheat code to wisdom. Who wouldn't be stunned by that? The allure is undeniable, a shortcut to meaning in a world that often feels empty. But here's where the orange-tinted skepticism kicks in. The more I dug into these promises, the more I felt a cold, almost repulsed realization. This isn't just spirituality, it's a business. Retreat centers, microdose kits, and influencers with crystal necklaces are selling you an experience, not a transformation. And deep down, that glossy packaging feels off. The truth is, psychedelics aren't magic pills. They don't sprinkle enlightenment like fairy dust. They're more like a spotlight, blasting every corner of your mind, good, bad, and ugly. That's what no one tells you when you're signing up for that jungle retreat or buying a sacred mushroom chocolate bar. The shock comes when you realize the trip doesn't make you wiser, it just makes you louder. Every buried fear, every unresolved wound, every ego-driven story you tell yourself, it all comes screaming to the surface. I learned this the hard way at my first ceremony. I went in expecting cosmic revelations, but instead, I spent hours face-to-face with my own insecurities, looping through memories I'd rather forget. It was astonishing, sure, but not in the way I'd hoped. It was raw, chaotic, and left me questioning why I even signed up. This is where the disgust creeps in, not at the substances themselves, but at how they're being peddled. Modern culture has taken something once revered, something that demanded preparation and respect, and turned it into a trendy escape. You see it everywhere, festivals where people pop LSD in porta-potties, calling it a breakthrough. Influencers posting selfies mid-trip with captions like #awakened. Retreats that feel more like Coachella than a sacred rite. It's almost nauseating how we've stripped the depth from these tools, replacing ritual with routine. In ancient traditions, psychedelics were gates to the divine, guarded by fasting, silence, and shamans who knew how to navigate the chaos. But you just need a credit card and a playlist. That disconnect, that commodification of something profound, leaves a bitter taste. I spoke with a friend, Alex, who fell hard for the hype. He saved up for a luxury psilocybin retreat, drawn by promises of meeting his higher self. He was floored by the visuals, galaxies, colors, a sense of infinity. But when the trip ended, he felt empty. No one guided him through what he saw. No one helped him make sense of the grief that surfaced. He came back to his life unchanged, just $2,000 poorer. That's the shock of it all. You're sold this dazzling promise, but without the right container, it's just a light show. And the indifference of the industry, churning out experiences without care for what happens after, feels like a betrayal. So why does this matter? Because we're chasing a mirage. The surprise of psychedelics' power is real. They can open doors to parts of yourself you've never faced. But the disgust comes when you realize the truth. No substance can do the work for you. It's not about the trip, it's about what you bring to it and what you do after. If you're nodding along, feeling that mix of awe and unease, stick with me. In the next part, we'll dive into why so many come back from these experiences feeling lost, and what the ancients knew that we've forgotten. Let's keep going. You've just come back from a psychedelic ceremony. The lights are dim, the incense still lingers in your memory, and you're sitting on your couch, staring at the ceiling. You saw things, vivid colors, maybe a glimpse of something divine, but now there's this hollow ache in your chest. The euphoria is gone, and what's left is a quiet sadness, like you've lost something you can't name. You were promised transformation, a new you, but instead, you feel stuck, maybe even worse than before. And beneath that melancholy, there's a spark of anger, irritation at yourself, at the retreat, at the whole idea that a plant could fix your life. This is the part of the psychedelic journey no one talks about. The crash, the disappointment, the moment you realize the trip didn't deliver what it promised. Let's unpack this. The sadness comes from expectation. You went into that ceremony, whether it was ayahuasca in a jungle lodge or mushrooms in your friend's basement, believing it would change everything. You'd read the Reddit threads, watched the YouTube vlogs, heard the stories of people reborn after one dose. But when the visuals fade, you're still you. The same insecurities, the same unresolved fights with your family, the same job you dread. That's where the blue wave hits. The regret of chasing a high that didn't last, the realization that the profound insights you scribbled in your notebook feel vague now, like a dream you can't quite recall. I felt this myself after my second LSD trip. I'd seen visions of interconnectedness, felt love for everyone and everything. But back in my apartment, I was still snapping at my roommate over dishes, still scrolling X to numb the loneliness. The gap between what I'd hoped for and what I got felt like a betrayal. This disappointment isn't just personal, it's cultural. We've been sold a narrative that psychedelics are a magic bullet, a one-way ticket to enlightenment. But the truth is, they're not designed to fix you, they're designed to show you what's broken. And that revelation can be crushing when you're not ready for it. My friend Clara, a yoga teacher, saved up for a high-end psilocybin retreat in Mexico. She went in hoping to heal her anxiety, but the mushrooms brought up memories of a toxic relationship she'd buried. She came back raw, disoriented, and without guidance to process it, she sank into a funk for months. That's the sadness. You glimpse something real, something deep, but without a map to navigate it, you're left feeling more lost than before. Now, let's talk about the anger, the purple pulse of frustration that bubbles up when you realize the system failed you. The retreat didn't warn you about the emotional fallout. The facilitator didn't mention that the visions might crack open wounds you've spent years sealing shut. Nobody told you that a psychedelic trip is less like a vacation and more like a confrontation. I remember talking to a guy named Mark who did DMT at a festival, expecting a cosmic joyride. Instead, he spent the trip reliving his father's death, shaking and sobbing in a tent. He was furious, not just at the drug, but at the culture that hyped it up without preparing him for the intensity. "Why didn't anyone tell me it could be like this?" he said, his voice tight with resentment. That's the anger, the feeling of being misled, of being sold a shiny promise that turned out to be a mirror reflecting your pain. This frustration isn't just about bad trips. It's about the whole ecosystem. The influencers who post glowing trip reports don't talk about the weeks of disorientation after. The retreat centers charging thousands don't offer follow-up support. The forums full of psychonauts rarely mention the discipline it takes to turn a vision into change. It's infuriating how we've taken something sacred, something that ancient cultures treated with reverence, and turned it into a drive-through experience. In traditions like the Mazatec or Shipibo, psychedelics were part of a system. Fasting, chanting, community guidance. You weren't just handed a mushroom and told to see what happens. You were prepared, held, guided through the chaos. Compare that to today, where you can order a microdose kit online like it's a protein shake. That casualness, that lack of respect for the power of these substances, sparks a righteous irritation. The sadness and anger intertwine because they both stem from a sense of loss. Loss of trust in the process, loss of the clarity you thought you'd gained. You realized the trip wasn't the answer, it was just the beginning. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you've invested time, money, and hope. But here's the silver lining. This letdown is a wake-up call. It's a chance to ask yourself, what was I really chasing? And what do I do now? If you're feeling this, you're not alone. In the next part, we'll explore how to move past this disappointment into something brighter, a way to find joy and meaning in the psychedelic journey even after the crash. Stay with me. After the crash of a psychedelic experience, when the glow fades and you're left grappling with heavy emotions, something beautiful can happen. A spark of joy that catches you off guard. Picture this. You're sitting in a quiet room, still processing the whirlwind of your last trip, when a moment of clarity hits. You realize the visions weren't just random fireworks in your mind. They showed you something real, something worth holding onto. That feeling, that pink-hued warmth spreading through your chest, is like rediscovering a piece of yourself you didn't know was missing. It's not the loud euphoria of the trip itself, but a quieter, deeper happiness, a sense of coming home. And woven into that joy is a thread of surprise, a yellow burst of amazement at how a single moment of insight can shift your entire perspective. Let's dive into how psychedelics, when approached with care, can unlock this kind of joy, and why it's so unexpected. The joy of a psychedelic experience isn't in the dazzling visuals or the cosmic highs, though those can be thrilling. It's in the moments when you glimpse your own heart, when you see, maybe for the first time, what really matters to you. I remember my third mushroom ceremony after the initial disappointment of my earlier trips. I was skeptical, half expecting another chaotic dive into my shadows. But during the session, guided by a facilitator who actually cared, I saw a vision of myself laughing with my younger brother, a memory I'd forgotten. It wasn't grand or mystical, it was simple, human. Yet it filled me with this radiant warmth, a happiness that felt like sunlight after a storm. I realized I'd been so caught up in my own head, work, stress, goals, that I'd neglected those small, joyful connections. That moment wasn't just healing, it was a gift, a reminder of what makes life worth living. What's surprising about this joy is how it sneaks up on you. You go into a psychedelic experience expecting profound answers about the universe, but instead, you're floored by something personal, something intimate. Take my friend Lena, who joined an ayahuasca circle hoping to find her purpose. She was stunned when, mid-ceremony, she saw herself as a child, painting with her grandmother. The memory wasn't earth-shattering, but it hit her like a lightning bolt. She'd forgotten how much she loved creating art, how it made her feel alive. That realization brought her to tears, not of sadness, but of pure, pink joy. She told me later, "I didn't expect to find happiness in something so small. I thought it had to be cosmic to matter." That's the yellow surprise. The most profound moments often come from the simplest truths. This joy is different from the fleeting high of the trip itself. It's not about chasing euphoria or bragging about your visions on X. It's about rediscovering parts of yourself you've buried under the noise of daily life. In traditional settings, like the peyote ceremonies of the Huichol people, this was the point. The medicine wasn't about escaping reality, it was about reconnecting you to it, to your community, your heart, your purpose. The elders would guide you to focus on what the visions revealed about your life, not the visions themselves. That's why the happiness feels so grounding, so real. It's not a high, it's a homecoming. But here's where the surprise deepens. This joy often comes from facing something you didn't expect to see. For me, it was realizing I'd been avoiding my family out of fear of being vulnerable. For Lena, it was rediscovering her creative spark. These moments are shocking because they cut through the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we need, what we're capable of. Psychedelics don't create this joy, they uncover it, like dusting off a treasure you didn't know you were carrying. And when you find it, it's like a burst of light in a place you thought was dark. This isn't to say it's all rosy. The joy can feel fragile, especially when you're used to the weight of sadness or anger from before. But that's what makes it so powerful. It's a reminder that even in the mess of being human, there's beauty waiting to be found. The surprise is that it was there all along, hidden behind your defenses. If you're feeling this spark, hold on to it. In the next part, we'll explore how to turn that joy into something active, something that pushes you to move forward with excitement and purpose. Keep going with me. You're walking out of a psychedelic ceremony, your heart buzzing with a vibrant, pink energy that feels like it could light up the world. It's not just happiness. It's excitement, a bubbling enthusiasm that makes you want to leap into action, to change something, to create something. You saw something during your trip, maybe a vision of yourself living bolder, freer, or more connected, and it's ignited a fire you didn't know you had. But then, there's this jolt of surprise. A yellow flash of disbelief that a single experience could make you feel so alive, so ready to move. How could a few hours with a plant or a tab shift your entire outlook? This is the magic of psychedelics when they're used with purpose. They don't just show you possibilities, they make you want to chase them. Let's dive into how these moments of joy can spark action, and why they catch us so off guard. This kind of joy isn't passive. It's the kind that makes you want to jump out of bed, call a friend you haven't spoken to in years, or finally start that project you've been putting off. It's the thrill of realizing you're not stuck, that you have the power to shift your life. I felt this after a guided psilocybin session last year. During the trip, I saw myself standing on a stage, sharing stories with a crowd. It wasn't a grand vision of fame, just a clear image of me being open, vulnerable, and connected. When I came down, I was buzzing with energy, like I'd been plugged into a socket. I signed up for a storytelling workshop the next day, something I'd never dared to do before. The surprise? I didn't expect a mushroom to push me to act so decisively. I thought it would just make me feel good, not make me move. That's the thing about psychedelics. When you approach them with intention, they can light a fuse. Take my friend Javier, who did an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. He went in feeling burned out from his corporate job, expecting maybe some clarity on his stress. Instead, he had a vision of himself teaching kids in his community to garden, something he'd loved as a teenager but abandoned. The image hit him like a thunderbolt. He was shocked by how vivid and urgent it felt. The joy wasn't just in the vision, it was in the realization that he could make it real. Within weeks, he was volunteering at a local school, setting up a community garden. He told me, "I never thought a plant could make me feel so alive, like I had to do something now." That's the yellow surprise. You go in looking for answers, but you come out with a mission. This excitement is what separates a meaningful psychedelic experience from a fleeting high. In traditional settings, like the San Pedro ceremonies of the Andes, the joy of the medicine wasn't about tripping out, it was about inspiration. The elders would ask, "What did the plant tell you to do?" They knew the visions were a call to action, not a destination. You were meant to take that energy and build something with it, whether it was mending a relationship, serving your community, or creating art. That's why the happiness feels so dynamic, so electric. It's not just about feeling good, it's about feeling called. But here's where the surprise kicks in. This call to action often comes from a place you didn't expect. You might think you're tripping to solve one problem, say your anxiety, but the medicine shows you something else entirely, like a forgotten passion or a buried dream. For Javier, it was gardening. For me, it was storytelling. These aren't cosmic revelations, they're personal, grounded, and that's what makes them so shocking. You realize the answers weren't out there in the stars, they were in you all along, waiting to be uncovered. It's like finding a key you didn't know you'd lost, and suddenly, you're racing to open the door. This joy, this urge to act, is fragile though. It's easy to let it slip away in the noise of daily life. Bills, deadlines, distractions. But when you hold on to it, when you let it fuel you, it can change everything. It's not about the trip, it's about the steps you take after. If you're feeling that spark right now, that restless excitement, don't let it fade. In the next part, we'll explore how to nurture that energy into something lasting, something you can be proud of. Let's keep moving forward. You've come down from the psychedelic high, and something incredible is happening. You're not just chasing the next trip, you're making changes. Maybe you're journaling every morning, setting boundaries with toxic friends, or finally pursuing that dream you saw in your visions. There's a warm, pink glow in your chest, a sense of pride and happiness that comes from living in alignment with what you discovered about yourself. It's not loud or flashy, it's the quiet satisfaction of knowing you're showing up as the person you glimpsed in that ceremony. But there's a bittersweet edge, a soft blue tinge of sadness for those moments when you slip, or for others who saw the same truth but couldn't hold on to it. This is the heart of integration, the joy of becoming, tempered by the ache of what's left behind. Let's explore how psychedelics can fuel this pride, and why it's so hard to sustain. This joy is different from the excitement of Part 4. It's not about the spark of inspiration, it's about the steady glow of living it out. I felt this after months of working with the insights from my psilocybin trip. That vision of myself sharing stories led me to a storytelling workshop, then to open mic nights, and eventually to hosting a podcast. Every time I hit publish on an episode, I feel this deep, pink satisfaction, not because I'm famous, but because I'm honoring the truth I saw. It's like building a house, brick by brick, and standing back to admire your work. You're proud, not of the trip, but of the person you're becoming because of it. This is what integration looks like, taking a fleeting moment of clarity and turning it into a way of life. I saw this pride in my friend Aisha, who did an LSD session with a small, intentional group. During her trip, she realized she'd been dimming her light to please her overbearing family. The vision was simple but powerful, her standing tall, speaking her truth. When she came back, she started saying no to family demands, enrolled in a writing course, and began sharing her poetry online. "I feel like I'm finally me," she told me, her eyes shining with happiness. That pride, that sense of being true to herself, was transformative. But it wasn't easy. She admitted there were days when doubt crept in, when she felt the old pull to conform. That's where the sadness comes in. A quiet disappointment when you realize not every insight sticks, not every change lasts. This blue undercurrent is real. Integration is hard work, and not everyone makes it. I think of Tom, a coworker who did ayahuasca hoping to heal his burnout. He saw a vision of himself hiking, free from his desk job, surrounded by nature. It lit him up, but back in his routine, the demands of work and family overwhelmed him. He never took that hike. The sadness isn't just for him. It's for all of us who've glimpsed something beautiful but struggled to hold on to it. It's the ache of knowing what's possible but seeing how life's noise can drown it out. Even I've had moments where I slipped back into old habits, skipping my journaling or avoiding tough conversations. Those moments feel like a betrayal of the truth I saw, and they carry a quiet grief. But here's what keeps the joy alive. Every step forward, no matter how small, builds that pride. In traditional cultures, like the Shipibo's ayahuasca ceremonies, integration wasn't a solo act. You'd return to your community, share your visions, and be held accountable to live them. The elders didn't care about your trip's visuals. They cared how you treated your neighbors, how you carried yourself. That's what we're missing today. We trip alone, without a circle to reflect our progress, and it's easy to lose momentum. But when you commit, when you show up for yourself, day after day, the happiness grows. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. For Aisha, joining a writer's group was her anchor. For me, it was a daily meditation practice. These small acts turn insights into habits, and that's where the pride lives. You're not just chasing a high, you're building a life. But the sadness lingers for those who don't make it there, who let the vision fade. That's why integration is a choice, a discipline. If you're feeling this mix of pride and longing, you're on the right path. In the next part, we'll dive into how to keep that energy moving, turning joy into action despite the fears that try to hold you back. Let's keep going. You're standing at the edge of something new. Maybe it's a decision to quit that draining job, start a passion project, or finally have that honest conversation you've been avoiding. After your psychedelic experience, there's this electric pink surge of joy pulsing through you. A sassy, vibrant enthusiasm that makes you feel unstoppable. You're ready to act, to turn the visions you saw into reality, to live the truth the medicine showed you. But then, a green shadow creeps in, a flicker of fear, a nervous twitch in your gut. What if you fail? What if this change upends your life? What if you're not ready? This is the dance of transformation, the thrilling rush of moving forward, tempered by the quiet anxiety of stepping into the unknown. Let's explore how psychedelics can fuel this bold action and why the fear is part of the journey. This joy is alive, almost rebellious. It's the kind of happiness that makes you want to shake things up, to break free from the patterns that have held you back. After my last psilocybin session, I felt this fire. The trip showed me a version of myself leading workshops, helping others find their voice. The idea lit me up. I was practically bouncing, sketching out plans, emailing venues. It wasn't just happiness, it was a sassy, I'm doing this energy that felt like a middle finger to my old doubts. I started hosting small community events, something I'd never dared before. That pink, vibrant joy was like rocket fuel, pushing me to act despite the risks. I saw this same energy in my friend Priya, who did an ayahuasca retreat in Peru. During her trip, she saw herself dancing again, a passion she'd abandoned after college. The vision was so vivid, her body moving freely, surrounded by a community. She woke up buzzing with excitement. Within weeks, she signed up for a dance class and started choreographing a performance. I felt like I was 18 again, she said, grinning. That enthusiasm, that sassy determination, is what psychedelics can ignite when you listen to their call. It's not about the trip's visuals, it's about the urge to create, to move, to live bigger. But here's where the green fear slips in, like a whisper you can't ignore. Taking action is scary. For me, every time I stepped up to lead an event, my stomach churned. What if no one showed up? What if I bombed? Priya felt it too. She admitted to sleepless nights before her dance class, worried she'd look foolish or wouldn't be good enough. This anxiety isn't a sign you're doing it wrong, it's a sign you're doing something real. Psychedelics don't erase fear, they amplify what's at stake. In traditional settings, like the peyote ceremonies of the Native American church, this was understood. The medicine showed you a path, but the elders warned that walking it would test your courage. They didn't promise a fear-free journey, they promised a meaningful one. This fear is what makes the joy so potent. It's the tension between the two that fuels transformation. Without the green edge of anxiety, the action might feel hollow, like chasing a high for its own sake. But when you act despite the fear, you're not just moving, you're growing. I remember talking to a guy named Leo who did LSD and saw himself starting a nonprofit for mental health. The vision thrilled him, but the idea of fundraising, of putting himself out there, made him queasy. I kept thinking, who am I to do this? He said. Yet he pushed through, launching a small support group. The fear didn't vanish, but the joy of helping others outweighed it. That's the alchemy. The pink energy of action transforms the green fear into courage. The key is to lean into both. Don't run from the anxiety, use it as a signal you're stepping outside your comfort zone. Traditional cultures knew this. They surrounded psychedelic journeys with rituals to ground you, like chanting or communal sharing, so the fear didn't overwhelm the purpose. Today, we often lack that support, so we have to build it ourselves, through journaling, trusted friends, or small steps that make the action feel manageable. Priya started with one dance class. I began with one event. Each step builds momentum, turning fear into a companion rather than an enemy. If you're feeling that mix of excitement and nerves, you're on the cusp of something big. Hold onto that sassy joy, it's your fuel. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the pride and happiness of seeing your actions bear fruit, even as fear tries to pull you back. Let's keep pushing forward. You've taken the leap. You've acted on the insights from your psychedelic journey. Maybe you've started that creative project, rebuilt a broken relationship, or carved out space for a life that feels more like you. There's a radiant, pink glow in your heart, a deep happiness that comes from seeing your efforts bloom into something real. It's not just joy, it's pride, the kind that makes you stand taller, knowing you've honored the truth the medicine showed you. You're not just dreaming anymore, you're living it. But beneath this triumph, there's a green pulse of fear, a nagging panic that whispers, "What if this falls apart? What if you can't keep this up?" This is the edge of transformation, the exhilarating pride of becoming who you're meant to be, shadowed by the fear of losing it all. Let's dive into how psychedelics can anchor this joy and why the fear is a sign you're growing. This happiness is profound. It's not the fleeting rush of a trip or the excitement of a new idea. It's the steady, glowing pride of seeing your life shift because of choices you've made. After my psilocybin-inspired storytelling journey, I started hosting community workshops. The first time I saw a room full of people sharing their stories, connecting through vulnerability, I felt this warm, pink surge of fulfillment. It wasn't just that I'd done something, it was that I'd built something meaningful, something that reflected the vision I saw. This pride comes from alignment, from living in a way that matches the truth you glimpsed in the medicine. It's like looking in a mirror and recognizing yourself, not as perfect, but as real. I saw this in my friend Nadia, who used an ayahuasca ceremony to confront her fear of being seen. Her vision showed her speaking publicly about her mental health struggles, something she'd always avoided. After months of integration, journaling, therapy, and small speaking gigs, she gave a TEDx talk. "I felt like I was glowing," she told me, her voice thick with pride. That happiness wasn't just from the stage. It was from knowing she'd faced her deepest fears and come out stronger. This is what psychedelics can do when you follow through. They don't just show you a path, they give you the chance to walk it and feel proud of every step. But here's where the green fear creeps in, and it's not just nerves, it's panic. Transformation is terrifying because it's permanent. You're not just dipping your toe in change, you're rewriting your life. For me, every workshop I led brought a wave of dread. What if I'm not good enough? What if this passion fades and I'm left with nothing? Nadia felt it too. Before her talk, she was hit with a panic attack, convinced she'd humiliate herself. This fear isn't a flaw, it's a signal you're pushing past your old limits. In traditional psychedelic practices, like the Bwiti's Iboga ceremonies, fear was expected. The elders taught that the medicine tests your resolve, showing you not just what's possible but what it costs. They didn't shield you from the panic, they helped you face it. This interplay of joy and fear is what makes transformation real. The pride comes from knowing you're living your truth, but the panic reminds you how much you've invested. It's like climbing a mountain. The view is breathtaking, but the height makes your stomach drop. I met a woman named Elena at a retreat who used mushrooms to rediscover her love for painting. She started selling her art, and the joy of seeing her work in galleries was electric. But she admitted to sleepless nights, terrified her creativity would dry up or people would reject her. She pushed through by joining an artist collective, where others shared the same fears. That community turned her panic into a shared strength, grounding her joy in something solid. The key is to embrace both emotions. The pink pride fuels your momentum, the green fear keeps you humble. Without a container, like a supportive circle or daily practices, the panic can overwhelm, pulling you back to old habits. But when you hold space for both, you grow. Nadia practiced breathing exercises before her talk. I leaned on meditation to calm my nerves. These small acts anchor the joy, making it sustainable. If you're feeling this mix of triumph and terror, you're doing something right. In the next part, we'll wrap up with a call to keep this energy alive, to act boldly despite the fears. Let's finish strong. You're standing at a crossroads. The psychedelic journey has shown you glimpses of who you could be. A bolder, truer, more connected version of yourself. There's a pink, electric joy coursing through you, a sassy, unstoppable energy that screams, "This is it. This is your moment." It's the thrill of knowing you can rewrite your story, take risks, and build a life that reflects the truth you saw in those visions. You're ready to leap, start that business, mend that relationship, or create something that lights up your soul. But there's a green shadow flickering at the edges, a restless fear, a bumbling anxiety that whispers, "What if you're not enough? What if this all crashes down?" This is the final test of your psychedelic experience. Will you let that fear stop you, or will you harness this joy and act? Let's close this journey with a call to live your vision, to make the medicine's lessons real, no matter how scary it feels. This joy is infectious, a vibrant pulse that pushes you to move. It's the kind of happiness that makes you want to shout your truth from the rooftops, to act with purpose and passion. After my psychedelic journey, I felt this when I launched my podcast. Every episode one recorded felt like a love letter to the vision I saw, me, sharing stories, building community. The excitement wasn't just in the act, it was in knowing I was honoring something deeper, something the medicine had revealed. It's like dancing to a song only you can hear, and it feels so good you don't care who's watching. This is what psychedelics can do when you take their insights seriously. They don't just show you a dream, they give you the energy to chase it. I saw this in my friend Marcus, who did a San Pedro ceremony in the Andes. His vision was of him coaching young athletes, something he'd abandoned after a career setback. The joy hit him hard. He came back buzzing, signing up to volunteer at a local sports center. "It felt like my heart was on fire," he said, laughing. He started mentoring kids, and the happiness of seeing them grow was unlike anything he'd felt before. But the fear was there too, a green, nagging worry that he wasn't qualified, that he'd fail these kids. That anxiety is universal when you step into something big. It's not a sign to stop, it's a sign you're stretching, growing beyond your old limits. In traditional cultures, this moment was sacred. In ayahuasca ceremonies among the Shipibo, the call to action wasn't optional, it was the point. The medicine showed you your role in the community, and the elders held you accountable to live it. They knew fear was part of the deal, but they surrounded you with rituals and support to keep you moving. Today, we often face this alone, and that's where the panic can creep in. I felt it when I worried my podcast would flop, or when Marcus doubted his coaching skills. But here's the truth, fear doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're alive, daring to build something real. Take Sarah, a woman I met at an integration circle. Her LSD trip showed her teaching yoga to underserved communities. The vision thrilled her, but the idea of leaving her stable job to pursue it sent her into a spiral of worry. What if she couldn't pay her bills? What if no one showed up to her classes? She pushed through by starting small, offering free classes at a community center. The joy of seeing her students find peace outweighed her fears, and now she's building a nonprofit. That's the alchemy of this moment. The pink energy of action transforms the green panic into courage. So, here's your call, don't let the vision fade. The medicine showed you what's possible, now it's on you to make it real. Start small, journal one insight, call one person, take one step. Build a circle of friends who'll hold you accountable. Say no to what drains you. Eat, move, and breathe with intention. The fear will tag along, but it's not your enemy, it's your compass, pointing to what matters. Sign up for our Insights Academy newsletter for tools to keep this fire burning, plus a free digital copy of the Kybalion, link below. Comment, "I'm in," to join the journey. The medicine opened the door, now walk through it. Your life is waiting.